If you would have told 16-year-old Ingrid that one day your biggest dream is gonna be to go to China, I would have laughed. China? That's not even on my radar. But here I am, packing my bags, touching up my Chinese, and about to make this become reality. So what happened? I grew up in Norway. I was a creative and curious soul. I loved acting and playing with my friends. In Norway, when I was young, we started learning English from about first or second grade, and I quickly realized I wasn't a natural. In 7th grade, I was far behind everyone else. But then I discovered YouTube and watched a lot of English content as Smosh or Shane Dawson. Suddenly, English wasn't just a school subject. It was a way into a whole new world of new content. And I started to improve without even realizing it.
Future Ingrid, now you can listen to my English. I think you're going to be a little, not a very impressed, but a little impressed that I'm better than you thought I was.
In 8th grade, we start learning another language. We have to choose between usually Spanish, German, and French. I took Spanish because I thought that was the language that most people spoke out of those languages. But my brother, for an example, he was lucky because his school gave him the opportunity to learn Chinese. At that time, I didn't even think about that as being a very good opportunity. On top of that, in Norway, we have 2 written languages that is official and we have to learn, bokmål and nynorsk. And at a point, I was juggling 4 different languages at the same time. I really didn't enjoy learning languages at that time. But little did I know that one day I would fall in love with learning Chinese. I've always been drawn to things that weren't mainstream. In 5th grade, I think, I got into anime. I started watching Naruto and later Death Note, and I started to really enjoy Japanese culture before it even got mainstream. Liking anime really took me into another category called cosplay. I really enjoyed making costumes and putting them on and step into a new world, being a new character. Even though, I'm gonna be real, the making of the cosplays weren't my favorite part. It was actually going to conventions and wear them. So when I was about 16 or 17 years old, I one day just came across something called wrestling in the most Ingrid way possible. I randomly signed up for a workout session with the Norwegian Wrestling Federation the next day, and that changed my life. I became a wrestler, I traveled Europe and wrestled in a lot of countries on TV, and also I ended up getting flown to Orlando, Florida for a WWE tryout. Pretty cool. What I liked about wrestling was it was the perfect mixture of being badass and fight, but also being a performer and like making a show. Ever since I was a child, I've always loved acting and being in front of a crowd. I loved it. As being a wrestler and cosplayer wasn't enough for you, I also tried cheerleading. Cheerleading was not big in Norway. I didn't even know that it existed, but I did train on 2 cheerleading teams, Y Queens and OCT Galaxy, I think they were called. Looking back at it, I see a pattern. I've always liked stuff that wasn't just a normal path. And maybe that's why I got so fascinated with China when I first discovered it. In 2021, I was not thinking about China at all, and I hadn't really done it up to that point in my life. I was in fact learning Japanese with my friend, but then I stumbled upon a video on YouTube that changed everything. It was from a YouTube channel called Asian Boss, and it was called Why Do Americans Live in China? I clicked on the video and I don't even know what I expected. But I had this weird view of China that they hated Americans, they didn't really live good lives. I don't know. My view of China was weird. But the more I looked at this video, the more I realized that my view on China was so wrong. And I started to look into more videos and more videos and vlogs, and I was like, what? You can film in China? I thought you weren't allowed to take out the camera and film on the street. I was so surprised about how everything I thought I knew about China got debunked over and over and over again. And as I watched and watched the videos, I realized something that shocked me. I know nothing about this country. I know nothing about China. But the biggest reality check I got was that I was watching the news one day, and they were showing this clip from China of Chinese students singing and having fun, and I was like, oh wow, they do show positive things about China. I was actually very happy. But the next day, the same news anchor at the end of the broadcast apologized. I am sorry that we showed Chinese propaganda yesterday. I was straight out shocked. Something so innocent as children having fun in the classroom, that's propaganda? So that started to make me question. Is like every positive thing from China then propaganda? Don't take me wrong, no country is perfect. But I have realized that I can't trust the media to show me the full picture of China, the full picture of any country. I gotta go and see the country myself. As I kept researching it, my interest grew, and then I took my first step into learning Chinese. I quickly realized that my brain likes better the way the Chinese language structure their sentences compared to Japanese. It just made more sense to me. So I was hooked. I got hooked pretty quickly. But then life got in the way. I started university. I got into a relationship with an American that had even more an extreme view of China. He thought that if he ever went there, he was gonna get killed. Every time I tried to show him something cool about China, a positive fact or something, he was always responding with, yeah, but China does this bad thing. It was very negative all the time, and quite frankly, extremely draining after a certain period of time. Not one time did he ask me, why do you want to go to China? Tell me about it, you know? So I'm very glad that that is over, he's out of my life, and I can now pursue the dream of going to China. Not my American dream anymore, my Chinese dream. I have experienced firsthand how different the reality can be compared to how the media portray it to be. When I was together with my ex again, I in total was in America for around 11 months. And I realized that Norwegians, they really don't have a clue how it is to be an American and how they think and how life is there. And I know this because I've talked to people around me, and I also had all these ideas of how I thought it was, and then I was like hit in the face with reality. And that's why I have the firm belief that to be able to understand a country, you have to learn the language and you have to go there and live there. Otherwise, you can't really truly understand how the people think and how they are. Go and experience it for yourself. So that's why I'm here. I want to see China for myself, not how the media portray it, not how everyone tells me it is. I want to see it for myself. I'm ready to step into a country that fascinates me. I'm ready to challenge my own perceptions, and I'm ready to learn, to explore, and take you all with me while I'm doing it. Next up, China.